Are you looking to become a Tier 1 operator in the gaming world? Elevate your games with Blacksite Studio Terrain.
Okay, everybody, looks like we are live. We've run our Blacksite ad. Everyone check out Blacksite. Blacksite might actually be really helpful for this project that we're working on. Hello, everyone. Welcome back once more to a episode of SitRep Podcast. I'm joined today by, do you prefer Gaz or do you want Gareth? Or
Gaz is fine.
Gaz is awesome. Okay, so I'm joined here by Gaz, famous Gaz from the On Tabletop site. And we are going to take a look at the project that SitRep 6, otherwise known as Taskmaster. No, I'm just kidding, just kidding. Where Gianna has us working on for our upcoming project, 13 hour. I'm sorry, I always get this backwards. 13 days to 13 hours is the name of the project. So hopefully, if you guys have been checking out our recent podcasts and recent hobby streams that Gianna did last Thursday, one of the things that we are looking at is recreating part of the infamous September 11th, 2012 attack in Benghazi. Benghazi is one of the major cities of Libya, where the Americans had, I think it wasn't quite our embassy, was it, guys? It was like an embassorial outpost or something?
Yeah, it's like an outpost compound, yeah. Not got the level of protection that they have standard at embassies, and it had also been run down because it was supposed to be getting closed, I think, December that year. So things had started to be sort of left and let the manpower run down, not provide some of the sort of the newer upgrades nearby.
Okay. Cool. Give me 1 second to check some sound issues, which we might have. Okay, everyone is desktop audio, mic aux. Okay, if I get one more sound test, does that balance things out a little bit better between my voice and Gaz's voice? I guess
sounds okay to me. Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Alrighty. Okay. Awesome. So, so there was an attack. Libya. Muammar Gaddafi had run Libya for God knows how long. I remember reading about him back when I was a kid in the 80s. And apparently, he finally started to, topple a little bit in power. There was a major, then the Arab Spring came along in 2011, as everyone remembers. There was a big problem across many Arab countries, or at least a lot of unrest, where people that lived there just, were sick and tired of, some of the regimes in place. Change is never completely painless, especially in this part of the world, and there was a lot of problems. Now, I'm not sure of a lot of the details, but what eventually wound up happening is there was an attack against an American embassy outpost in Benghazi. Nearby, there was a CIA annex outpost where there were some like private military contractors, or I'm not sure exactly what their status was. They called them GRS. So were they actually PMCs, or were they actually employees of the State Department, or do you know anything about that?
I think they come under the CIA because two of them are black stars on the wall at CIA headquarters.
Okay.
So definitely under the CIA compound.
Awesome, cool. All right, cool. We have fixed our sound level, so that's good. Awesome. Yeah, you were coming out like really loud, and I was not coming out very much at all. So I've rebalanced the sound. Hopefully, we sound a little bit better now. Epic. So to get ready. Here's your first shot of the. Is it afternoon? Okay, here in the States, the sun is over the yard arm, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. Long story short, to make a long story short, that counts as 2 shots. Yeah, right. We're going to put someone in the hospital today. There was an embassy outpost under attack, and 1.2 miles away or so were a group of guys that thought they could help. They were not initially allowed to go help because they were CIA. They weren't supposed to be there. CIA operatives on the sovereign soil of a foreign nation, with which were not exactly on a Christmas card exchange list, i.e. Libya. The calls were made, and I won't get into the blame or the politics, but there was a lot of controversy about whether or not these guys could should go there and help. Eventually, they finally did go there and help, but by then the attack on the embassy was in full swing. Parts of the embassy, again, embassy outposts, I should say, had been set on fire, and it was not one of America's best days. Let's just leave it at that. So what this project is going to postulate is, had those GRS operators been allowed to sortie out and get to that attack right away, could the outcome have been a little better? We're just looking at the tactics. We're looking at the historical outcome. I know this is still a little bit of a touchstone as far as American culture and politics go. We're not trying to get into any of that part. We're just saying, look, if the military or paramilitary forces had been allowed to strike right off the bat or respond right off the bat, could the outcome have been a little better? So we're going to run this game in 3 basic stages. Stage 1 is going to be what we're calling the transit game. Okay, it's going to be a nice big map. It's going to cover about maybe 1.5 by 1 mile of ground. We're going to run that one electronically because it's going to be it may not be a hex encounter game, but it's going to be a big zoom out. Holy crap! Here's in miniature, you would need a parking lot to play this game, kind of a thing. We're going to build a big slice of Benghazi, and we're going to track the progress of, again, those GRS operators getting from CIA Annex to the embassy outpost that's under attack. They run into all kinds of problems. They run into militias. Some militias were hostile. Some militias were friendly. Some militias were ambivalent. And some militias were like changing those 3 states as the battle progressed. You have friendly militias who became ambivalent when, like, oh my god, those people are firing real bullets at us. Okay, we're going home. There's a soccer game on. We have ambivalent militias who became hostile when they were fired on. We had hostile militias who became ambivalent after they got done looting the compound, and then they were just leaving and they didn't want anything else to do with the battle. That's going to be a rules challenge, I won't lie to you, because the enemy force is going to be extremely fluid. But what we're doing today is we're making some of the pieces that are going to be used in that game. So it's going to track how the progress was from our GRS operators leaving from the CIA Annex to the embassy outpost. Once that part of the game is complete, and we know how many of the GRS operatives made it, how long they took, how big of a hornet's nest they kicked up along the way, we're going to get to the embassy compound. That's when we get to the main game. And I guess, did you want to talk about that part of it at the actual embassy compound?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, G and the team in America are going to head that up just because of location. We're looking at a good-sized table of 4 by 8 foot, I think is what we've decided on if you listen to the podcast. From that point, the compound itself was made up of a number of key buildings, but they were quite spread out. The gates were hardened, the walls were anti-climb, but only to a certain point. And all in all, it's about a 600 feet by 300 foot compound, so there's quite a lot of space, and there's going to be a lot of back and forth with the action. It's going to be a real interesting one, especially as there's also a level of friendly stroke enemies inside. Obviously, the guys that had obviously gone in initially, but the 17th Feb had a barracks within the compound, and they had some hardened vehicles as well. So it'd be interesting to see how it's played and the possible changes we'll see of the militant forces that are attacking the compound. As the incoming GRS guys might arrive early, they may change the tactics of how they engage them. So yeah, it's going to be a fun one, I think.
They're looking at like 28mm heroic for that.
Yeah, definitely. For myself, I picked up some of the lovely Spectre Miniatures militia, African militia models, and a couple of MENA civilians with mobile phones for the transit route as well. So we can do some possible triggers on the route that they can inform the forces at the compound, oh, there's guys on the way to you. So that might give us some interesting dynamics within the game. I think G's using, I can't remember which one she said she was using. She had them on one of the podcasts recently. She's picked out basically 6 with similar weapon setups of what's in the movie. I did manage to get it's available online, a hardened copy of the committee sort of findings. There was an investigation that started within a few days and finalized a few weeks later. So from that, we've got quite a lot of information. But for example, stuff that the GRS carried is actually blacked out. But we get a really good timeline. Some really good map, although there's plenty of them now on Google Image, as obviously the film has prompted people to look into this more, read into this more, and pick up some of the few novels that are based around it as well. There's quite a bit out there on it.
I guess. I mean, I don't know about the. I'm not going to speak for the main game or whatever. But for the transit game, I had a little bit of a Photoshop problem here, guys. Photoshop, as we've discussed before on the SitRep podcast, Photoshop does not play well with OBS. So whenever I'm trying to draw here in Photoshop, this is an original drawing. It does not. In an OBS will disable some elements of the Wacom pad, and it's actually really annoying. So I was trying to fix that while Gas was talking there. So again, like I was saying, just for the transit game, again, I can't speak for the main game, but for the transit game, we're using the movie as our source of truth, which I can't believe I just said that. I feel like I have to go take a shower now.
Somebody's rolling over in their grave right now.
Yeah, I'm not even dead yet, and I'm rolling over in my grave. Anyone who knows me from the site or from the SitRep podcast knows that Ariskini hates movies, like just in general, which isn't true. I just hate historical movies because they never get it right. But like you were saying, so much of this stuff is still classified, redacted, restricted, or just unreliable, because any reporting that is being done, at least here in the States, is pretty heavily colored, either blue or red. And again, we don't want to get too into that. But it's, as far as like what was really going on, who was responsible for what, and even if you're trying to get into the blame game, just trying to track the events, like this happened first, this happened second. What were the guys armed with? What should they have been armed with? What body armor should they have been wearing? It gets into a lot of the stuff that we don't really want to bring into the project. I don't think. So again, at least for the transit game, we're going with with the movie as our source of truth, or I should say, as our baseline for what they were armed with, what they were wearing, things like that. So here is our first miniature. Obviously, he's unarmed because the different guys had different weapons. We're going to put the weapons in as we go. So this is our template. We set up the template in Photoshop. It's just an outline. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to start to color this in, and we're going to put a weapon in his hands, and we might make some small changes to his gear, his clothing, things like that, depending on what people are interested in. So far we have hello Rasmus, hello Because Movie, and hello SitRep Podcast. Gianna is watching.
Overlord.
Yep. SitRep 6 Actuals in the house.
Right, we're going to have to can all that stuff we were going to say then, Jim.
Yeah, well, there goes the script. Yeah. No, but seriously, you guys can also probably hear a little bit of a fan in the background. Again, I'm sorry about that. My computer is running Skype, OBS, and Photoshop. These are 3 not nice things. Let me go ahead and shut down Google Chrome. That might help a little bit. Yeah, my poor computer is like...
So basically you're saying there's a lot of tired rats running on a wheel inside that computer right
Those
now.
gerbils are starting to wobble, man. I don't know how long they're going to last.
It's going to be like a relay in there.
So, okay.
So where do we begin, Jim?
We have a guy here. Again, he is wearing I originally had him in more of a tactical outfit, at least as far as his sleeves, as his shirt goes. I got rid of the tactical sleeves. I got down to more of a t-shirt, kind of a short sleeve t-shirt that it looks like the guys are wearing in the movie. They are wearing armor. I got rid of the pack, and I got rid of the canteens. So they're wearing armor, pack, no pack, a couple like ammo pouches and whatever. I'm sure they're wearing like a tactical pistol holster somewhere, but that's going to be under either one of his 2 shoulders here. You aren't going to be able to see it. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what kind of trousers or pants a lot of them were wearing. In the movie, at least one guy is wearing shorts. I'm not going to draw anybody in shorts. Yeah, and then they all are wearing like those light Special Forces tactical helmets. Mm-hmm. At least as far as I can find. Things like this. Things like this. So I couldn't find like a good top view of that. So I tried to draw something sort of generic. and that's what we have here from the top.
Yeah, I
Now,
like where you've gone with that. It looks
yeah,
good.
some of the guys I noticed in the movie have the much larger optics display that kind of folds up on top of the helmet over the
Hmm.
forehead. We can probably add that on some of our guys if we want to. But for now, this is our just our basic general dude or whatever, and we're going to go ahead and start to complete them and fill them in. So this is our template, and then this template is going to be copied 6 or 7 times as we go. Um, as we move through the guys. The only guy that this character probably won't work with, or I should say that this template won't work with, is the unarmed interpreter. From what I understand, the interpreter was unarmed, right? He was.
I think in the movie they give him a sidearm, but from what I understand, it doesn't really state whether he was or wasn't armed at any point. I imagine for this initial leg, he probably wasn't.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be in a rifle pose. This pose would work for a
No,
saw.
no.
This pose here will work for a saw, an M4, or the long arm marksman kind of a weapon. I don't think it's going to work even for a pistol.
No, no.
So, second shot of the day. Long story short, for the interpreter, we're going to have to draw a new template, or at least modify the hell out of this one. So we might not get to him today, but the 6 actual armed GRS operators that I have on record are going to be fine to work with this.
Yep.
All right, awesome. So let me go ahead and move this window a little bit out of the way here.
Yeah, so I'll talk through the guys a little bit. So
Okay.
what sort of happened is the compound was attacked at around 21:40 hours. Dozens basically scaled the front gate and the front wall, got into the compound, and they went pretty much straight through unimpeded. An interesting fact from the actual investigation into it, because they had cameras on the compound,
Okay.
they identified at least 60 different attackers that came through on the cameras.
Oh man.
So it's a considerable force on that initial sort of engagement. At the time,
So
there was
for the attackers, and again, G is on the thread, or is on our chat, so maybe she can either approve or decline this. For the attackers in the transit game, again, we're going to have much larger numbers there. I have my semi-generic bad guys that I have been working in for HK Ops. They carry a mix of submachine guns, assault, like AK family assault rifles, PKs, things like that. They have some like UMP submachine guns or like some AKSU submachine guns. They're wearing, I mean, I guess that you could sort of call it tactical clothing, but not really. It's like a hodgepodge. Well, it's like your typical insurgent stuff. Like maybe they have like a camouflage jacket and civilian pants, or vice versa. No helmets. I mean, I have a library of those guys already set up. I was probably going to use them for the villains or whatever, for the opposition force in the transit game.
yeah, I think that's good.
But for the GRS operators, I have like full-scale U.S. Marine, U.S. Army, Afghanistan guys that I made up for Contact Front, and then I have more of our strictly civilian, i.e., no helmet operators that we were using in HK Ops. In other words,
Okay.
neither of those would really work for this particular project. So I wanted to do these guys. Fresh, specifically for this one project.
Yeah.
So okay,
you might be able to use the no helmet guys for the DS staff, the diplomatic security team, because
Okay.
on the way back, they were in the transports as well.
they're wearing packs in my images, so I just might have to get rid of the packs. But
Right.
yeah, okay, cool. All right, so who do we want to start with? We want to start with the leader was Roan, I think.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Tyrone Rowan Woods was the leader of the force.
So what kind of from the movie or from what we know, like what we know he was wearing the helmet. Like what color was the helmet? Was the helmet like a standard desert kind of like
Oh,
kind of?
now you're asking.
No, sorry.
I'm just gonna jump across quickly.
So I'm going to resave the file, and we're going to call this. Get rid of my background shade here. And just for now, I'm going to say start a new layer. Painting with Photoshop. Anyone who says that Photoshop is not a hobby has never tried Photoshop. New. Because we're about to create an army of miniatures here, right here on stream. We're about to prove that case. Assuming my Wacom pad is still working.
Fingers crossed.
Yep. Well, it's always going to work. It's just like for people in the stream, whether or not that line is variable. You see how that line is getting thicker and thinner as I go. Sometimes OBS wrecks that capability in the Wacom pad. It's some sort of interaction with my graphics driver that OBS likes to, screw up because OBS hates me. We can still draw without it. It's just a lot more difficult. So just for now, I'm going to fill it in like a desert yellow or a desert kind of a sand color. Did we want to, and a lot of this is just going to come down to preference. Do we want to maybe put on some sort of a pattern on this, or?
So I'm just into the film itself now because obviously we're limited on our points of references due to a lot of it being blacked out in the actual committee report. So yeah, looking at this, it's that mix between sort of desert yellow almost to a low-level drab green. You'd expect for sort of a military issue kit. A lot of the jackets themselves are, again, down to a sort of a deep khaki. What you'd expect sort of for full plate and heart plates.
Right.
Oh, G's apparently sending pictures. That's very kind of her. Hopefully I can just view them.
Yeah, let me know if we're doing anything wrong here. I mean, I'm getting the notifications myself as well, but if I open up Skype, everyone's going to see it. Which might not be a bad thing, but it is our internal SITREP conversation. So just for fun, put a little bit of a... little bit of a shine here on these little optics that are sitting up on top. That was the wrong button. Okay, now you're making me mad. What the hell are you doing? N. It's not working. Oh, keyboards.
It's been quite a challenge for you in a different way when it comes to the transit game due to the sort of the low friendly numbers and the fact they're in two vehicles, hasn't it, Jim? Like you were saying about it's barely a counter when it comes to some of the game systems we've been looking at.
Straight out Valorant Victory will just straight out not work. Only because, again, Valorant Victory is just too big, which is weird because Valorant Victory is a pretty small game. It's squad based. This is going to be more of a skirmish based game, so it's going to be pretty small. Okay, so actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to lighten this up a little bit, or at least the brown part. Select that color, make sure I'm on the right layer. Adjustments, no, replace color. No, I'm just trying to do the fastest way to do this. Okay, cool. Alright, so then we're going to do, you want to do his armor next, or whatever?
The body armor.
Alright, cool.
Yeah,
I want it's going to be the same basic color, but I want it to be a little bit darker because it's like further away from the viewer. So I'm going to use eyedropper tool for anyone who's interested in Photoshop. Eyedropper tool to select my layer, select the color off my other layer, then I'm going to make it a little bit darker with my color selector or whatever, and get started. So yeah, it's the same generally, it's just a little bit darker. Now these straps on that armor, are those usually lighter or darker, or does it matter?
They're sort of integral, so they're the sort of the loop straps that you'd put your back of your pouches through. Right. So they're the same colour as the armour itself. Okay. Well, the outer part of the
right.
padding. So I'm just flicking through. It was a good reason to watch the film again today, which was I really enjoy as well. So
yeah, I finally found a whatchamacallit on YouTube. Of like just a sheet out, just because I was like, oh my god, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about here. as far as I'm making these a slightly lighter color. I feel you just said that they're darker. Again, they pop a little bit higher above the. In fact, I probably overdid it there. Hold on. Anything further out, closer to the eye or whatever, should just be a little bit lighter.
Hmm.
Almost like highlighting a miniature. Same general idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Olive drab. Okay, sent you two pictures of the typical kit for GRS and my painted interpreter. Olive drab. Okay, Gianna, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. What should we make olive drab? I don't want G to. I don't want G to think we're ignoring her. She's saying olive drab. You're saying desert yellow, but I'm just like, okay, I guess we'll do desert yellow. And G's probably like, ah, damn you, go risky. Now that armor plate doesn't actually connect over the shoulders. It's like two plates that sit on front and back, right?
Yeah,
It
it's literally
doesn't.
just a shoulder sort of padding area and then a small strap that runs down to the front, and then it holds in a larger square piece.
All right, so I didn't quite draw this right. All right, let me go back to my outline layer. So in Photoshop, you're able to have different layers, obviously. Oh God, did I just lose my? Nope. I just don't know how to draw. So you can see where it's almost like he almost looks like a Ninja Turtle the way I have him drawn now. So I'm gonna go ahead and fix that because that's not right.
Mind you, he's going to be quite hunched in that position, and the plates are quite thick, or at least they are now. And if he's got dual plates, I don't know if the Americans have dual plates in their kit, because we'll wear a heart plate and then a full body plate,
Right.
so they layer over each other. Um, so sometimes they just push out the fabric a bit more when you've got both in.
Oh, when I was in, we didn't wear shit. We had cami utilities, and then if we were lucky, we had the old 1980s like Grenada era, like the old not quite like Vietnam flak jackets, but I guess between Vietnam flak jackets and what they have now, like the old 1980s stuff.
But to be fair, in the 90s, our guys deployed to Iraq without any body armour initially, and then got given it out there. And that was just a sort of the knife vest and the heart plate, because
Yep.
we weren't frontline troops. So yeah, it's always it seems to be a game of catch up a lot of the time when it comes to kit, based on once you get to theatres. But the stuff they develop now is ridiculous. As in it's a great level of protection, allowing as much mobility as you can. But these hot areas and stuff, it's not always going to work in different environments as well. So it'd be interesting to see as we sort of restructure away from desert and go back to sort of Cold War era, with the perceived threats of today.
Okay, so Gianna is telling us that we should do olive drab. Hold on. The helmet and the armor should be olive drab. Yes, with shoulder straps and all gear. Okay, we fixed the. At least I hope I fixed the way the armor basically looks.
Yeah. Yeah, looks good.
Okay, but
Mind you,
apparently we're doing this.
sounds
the
like G's G's going to be the final word. It looks.
Yeah. Okay, give me a second and I will fix this. So what I'm doing is I'm not ignoring G. I'm just going to go ahead and finish coloring this, and then once I have a color on this layer, I can modify the color. In fact, we can all probably see it in real time. Once there is actual pixels, of color down there. Once we get that in there, we can go ahead and fix that.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah, it
use-
seems there's quite a mix of colours between the guys. I've just watched through the sort of when they finish the transit, get out of the vehicle nearby, and then go all the way through to the compound.
Well, once we get to the civilian clothes, like his pants and his shirt, that's actually going to be like I see a lot of blues, blacks, dark grays.
Yeah,
That's going to be
correct, yeah.
straight out civilian. Okay, so I got general colors here in the helmet and in the armor plates. So, oh, Jan says now it looks good. Okay, cool. She might be just being nice. All right, so I'm. Oh man, please don't tell me I have the wrong stuff. Did I just do that? Okay, no, I didn't. I'm smart. Yeah, you see where the color is one layer and the outline is another. That's very important.
Oh.
That allows me to do things like this. All right, guys. Let's color our guy. All right, so
This is educational as well.
this is what happens when I have the wrong layer selected. love how the dialogue box. I swear to God they programmed that in there. Somehow Photoshop knows what you're looking at and spawns the dialogue box right over whatever it is you're trying to do. Okay, so again, with an eye on the armor and the helmet, if we make that more of a green. Okay, that's not turning out green right now. Oh, there we go. You guys let me know. That's our original. Our original is our standard desert stuff.
Yeah. Just trying to find Roan now. There he is. It's tough because Roan's not the focus of the movie and Silver is. He's always in and out of shot rather than being in it for a, sort of any period of time.
So that's more of an olive drab.
Yeah, I think that's close, definitely.
Is that closer to what we were looking at a second ago, G?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I need to see what G says.
Okay. G, on this, especially in SITREP in general, but especially on this project, I work for you. I'll do whatever. If you want me to paint this guy in Ronald McDonald shoes, I'll do it. I mean, you just tell me. And of
What
course,
colour are Ronald McDonald's shoes?
you know what? I don't spend that much time looking at Ronald McDonald. I'm happy to say.
I don't even think he's a thing anymore in the UK. I think he scared children too much.
They
so.
did. They did eventually discontinue him as a mascot. Yeah.
Right.
At least here in the States.
Because there was the burglar as well, wasn't there?
Oh, I don't know. Here in America, we had this big clown scare, but that was way before that. That is the CIA. Okay. Janet's answering questions here. I'm not sure which question she's answering. She says, "Yep," and then she says, "No, that is the CIA boss." So the CIA boss should be wearing this green, and I'm very confused. The shoes. Okay, now she's. You want Ronald McDonald shoes? I'll give you Ronald McDonald shoes. There's apparently a lag in the conversation here, so I don't know. She's answering 3 questions. I don't know which answer goes to which question. She wants Ronald McDonald shoes. She wants the CIA boss wearing Ronald McDonald shoes. And then she says, "Yep." No, I'm just kidding.
That'd make for an interesting model, I'm not going to lie.
All right, so you know what I'm going to do? This wonderful thing called duplication. I'm going to duplicate the layer, and I'm going to sit this one back to where it was. Oops, I don't have it selected, though. This is the level of service we provide here on SITREP. Okay, Jana, I have this in desert, and then I have that in olive drab, and then you can literally just let me know which one you like. We can switch back and forth pretty much at will. Roan looks good so far. Oh, the Ronald McDonald shoes go on the CIA bus because he is a clown. Gotcha. All right, you heard it here, folks. We're going to have a Ronald McDonald miniature.
Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Mind you, she's got the printer. I bet you could probably find an STL file for that.
Yeah, I'm sure you could. Okay, so did we want to do his like ammo pouches in either olive drab or in? I'm going to start that on a new layer here. The more layers the more layers I have, the more choices we have later. It's a little harder to do up front, but it makes things easier later.
Yeah.
New layer, please.
And potentially, can you pull these to the next one as well? So it sort of saves you work there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's so over here on the side, we see all the layers, and some of them are being shown, some of them aren't. There's my original super rough sketch. I don't need that anymore. So delete layer, please. That's the really, you don't want to see how the sausage is made sketch. All right, so I have a new layer that is, I think, more or less blank. Nope, that's the outline. That's the new layer, layer 3. Cool, so I'll just do this one for now in, or lighter, whatever stands out better. Darker tone for the pouches in drab. Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, I was thinking that to do the pouches in drab because, it's just, again, for color. Oh my God, my Iraqi army that I'm doing in 15 millimeter, I am like desperate for some kind of color. At least my Marines, they had like some markings. I can do the crews in that old 1990s chocolate chip desert camouflage, things like that. Um,
What's your process going to be for that?
oh, I just went ahead and did it. What was my process? A lot of Tylenol and aspirin, and a nice big light, and some really overpowered reading glasses. So in 15 mil, I did it in. They were base sprayed in the usual desert sand or whatever, and then I got the super super small brush, really thin paint because I wanted very small kind of globs of paint, obviously. And I mean, it's not like to scale the camouflage pattern, obviously, because it's just way too 15 millimeter, And it was you started off with a darker brown, and then little dots of black, and then over top the dots of black, slightly offset, or a tiny, even tinier dot of white. And so you got that look of that old American like Gulf War camouflage, where it's okay. Here is some darker. It almost looks like a rock on the camouflage. I think that was the point. It looks like a stone. There's a white piece of something with a black shadow underneath it, and
Okay.
and we went with that. So now for his web belt or his tactical belt, I'm going to go a little bit darker because again it's further into the figure. Come back out for the I want to say the buckle, but all right, and I think that's going to be good for the web gear. Um, all right, did we want to start? I'll go ahead and do his watch super fast. What do you think his watch was? How dare you not know that? What color was Roan's watch in Benghazi 2012?
Silver and blue.
Oh, there you go.
It's meant to be a fake Rolex, I think.
It's a well-known historical fact. Okay. Okay. Then we'll throw on some flesh tones. Oh crap. Okay. So I'm gonna make a new. Okay. New layer. I belong to other communities, guys. I do this kind of stuff on other channels or whatever. So just if you ever want me to slow down as far as new layer, please, dummy. As far as what I'm doing with Photoshop, the more layers you have, the better choices you have later. In fact, I'm going to start layer. I'm going to start um, naming these layers. So layer 3 was web gear. Layer 4 is going to be skin. Layer 2 is armor helmet 1. Armor helmet 1. Yes, we spell it without a U because we're in the U.S. I think this was
The French influence in the UK.
armor helmet 2. You ever hear Eddie Izzard talk about how different, how Americans spell things versus how British spell things? I'm with you guys on some of them. Like you spell through THRU. We spell THRUGH, which is thruff, and that's just cheating at Scrabble. Then he's like, we spell like we say herb with an H because there's a fucking H in it. For some reason, we always say just herb. We leave off that H. All right, so some relatively standard white boy flesh here. Let's give him a little bit of a tan because he is in the desert after all. Let's not make him like. Can I get some brown in that, please? I may have to adjust that afterwards. But for now, we'll do that. Again, we're on our new layer. Skin is our layer. It sounds anal to name your layers. I've talked about this in previous streams. Trust me, dude. If you don't name your stream, you'll be drawing on the wrong layer, and that's going to cause a problem. It won't wreck your image, but it'll wreck your day because now you have to like fix things afterwards, and it's not pleasant. Drawing also on different layers where your outline is the top layer helps with, again, making your life just a little bit easier. Oh no, I overstepped. That's really annoying. It gives you a little bit of grace as far as staying inside the line, so to speak. I mean, you could zoom into 1600% and be like literally drawing one pixel at a time, but we'd be here till Christmas. Um, so either way, you have no excuse. You can always be accurate, but he's got his trigger finger ready.
That's his safety, isn't it?
All right, here's my safety right here, sir. Oh, Delta Force. First of all, who brings their weapon in the mess hall? Then again, I never was in Somalia, so.
I did.
I,
Iraq and Afghanistan at certain points. We used to take weapons into the mess hall.
and
Well,
again, I
we
was
call them a cookhouse, but
I was supply. So the joke is, I was so far in the rear, I had to send my laundry closer to the front to get cleaned.
definitely not front line. But yeah, we were close enough, especially in Basra, where you never knew. So in Afghan, it was different. It was only when the camp was at certain states that you would, and then it mellowed out. Some tours I did where we put it into an ISO container that was an armory, and then other tours I did where we carried it on a daily basis everywhere we went. So if you're at the gym,
You had your
you were there.
you had your armory in a container,
Yeah,
like
an ISO container armory.
like a shipping container.
Yeah,
That sounds
yeah,
real
and then
secure.
all caged up and ready to go. Yeah, it used to have to be checked hourly as well. Once it got robbed, that was in Basra.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, somebody managed to get in on a blind side over a massive 20-foot wall and then knock out what was an air conditioning hole when it must have been an accommodation of some sort or temperature controlled stuff in it, which was inside the cage. And yeah, it made for some interesting times. Obviously, somebody got in a lot of trouble for that. But yeah,
I'm
carrying
trying to.
kit was quite frequent.
Come on. I'm being a little anal retentive here with the color
Ah,
scheme.
I've been searching for a while now just for an image of him that shows a bit more than just his watch, which is what I've sent you.
Oh my god. I'm gonna have to redraw his watch now, folks. We are serious here at Sit Rep Podcast on historical accuracy.
But I've managed to find a fairly decent image. He's basically walking, carrying his helmet. So he's not got it on, his headpiece, but he's got the rest. Pop that out. Like I say, with him being the leader of the force but not the main character of the film, it was a bit more difficult to find a picture of him than it will be for some of the others. There we go.
Okay, so now we have multiple skin layers, and with that different skin layers, we can now have different colors or different backgrounds, whatever you want to call it, of people here in our force. So was everyone just straight out white Caucasian in this, or was there any Latinos, any African Americans?
Um, I want to say Peranto, Tanto Peranto.
Okay,
Chris Peranto is. There is no African Americans.
I will try to make this guy a little bit, if I can remember
So
what layer.
this guy
Images.
is what you'd expect to be. What would you call Caucasian, though?
Oh,
Not
okay.
Rowan. Yeah, you're fine with this guy.
Yeah, I'm just creating another one while I'm here.
Yeah, Tig as well. I think is like I say, I'm not so sure with because again, I'm in an environment that we don't have Latino, so it's very difficult for me. I can send you the pictures and let you make the call. In relation to pigments and stuff, you'll have a better grasp on what you've got available as well.
Well, now we've got options.
Mm-hmm.
So, oops, now he's a ghost. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so now we've got options. We can change things around, and again, one of the happy things about Photoshop is we have multiple choices. Okay, so again, now that we're doing different layers, let's get into the shirt. So I'm going to create another layer for that. New layer, dummy. New layer. I'm going to name this one shirt. And again, now that we're going to have like basic pixels down on the shirt, it's going to be, what are we doing here? We're going to have the ability to change different colors. So I think I saw one guy wearing like a dark blue.
Yeah, so there's almost a blue, almost black on two of the guys. Rowan has sort of a dirty dark red shirt on. He's in the image that I've pinged through to chat on Skype for you. That's him walking towards the vehicles before they set off, basically.
The only thing is I don't really want to open Skype here on OBS because then I literally
understood.
Everyone will see it.
Is there another way I can send it you?
No, it's cool. We'll just kind of get through it here.
Okay.
That blue might be a little too bright.
Yeah, it is.
It's way too bright. All right, I will.
Yeah, it's dark navy blue, almost black, especially in the night shots.
Yeah, but it's we're painting miniatures, and I like colors, man. What's the I know nothing. I often joke that I don't know how to spell 40K. There's a I know, right? Originally brought up 40K. Oh my god. Write down the date, folks. Wasn't there like a certain kind of like ultramarine that's always like this dark, almost like royal blue? I don't know.
Yeah, there is an ultramarine blue from a crag, and they're all supposed to be that colour. And then over time, people have varied the level of that blue. But it is quite a dark. Well, it's even darker than that on the movie. Like I say, it's almost a black. But like you said.
One thing
these things need to stand out because they're going to be a lot smaller once you play in the game.
Right.
So it'd be a good way to identify friend and foe.
But that blue, I mean, I wouldn't wear that in a combat, even if I was in a rush. That's really bright.
Strangely enough, you're going to see blue and black checkered in lines up and down because a lot of the militants, when I was reading up on some of the reports and stuff, were Inter Milan fans. And I looked at the kit the previous season, and it was dark blue with black stripes vertically.
Oh, right. This is the people who were watching soccer at the time?
No, these are the people that were attacking.
Yeah,
but weren't watching the football.
Oh, they weren't watching football.
No, so some of the attackers that came in there was a real mix of everything from what you'd expect of sort of African militants to wear, different coloured camos, through to guys in baseball hats with a football top on and just a pair of jeans.
Gotcha.
It's a real spread of dress code.
So Skoback has joined us. Hello, Mr. Skoback. How you doing? Eddie Izzard is the man. Yeah, we're designing playing pieces, Skoback. We're doing stuff for the 13 Hours Benghazi project. Awesome. Yep. Looks like SitRep podcast has already answered the questions. Epic. All right. So, oops, missed a little bit spot up here. I painted my Ukrainian separatists, or I should say my Russian, my pro-Russian separatists for the Ukrainian war in 20 millimeter, and they were kind of fun. A lot of them were, I got very good at doing like tracksuits. So you paint them like a dark green or a dark black or whatever, then you come with a really small brush after that and just put like those little stripes down the sides of the arms, the sides of the pants.
Yeah.
It pops. It's a bright white stripe. I mean, I'm not saying that we do it here, but it's an effective little technique. It really helps a miniature, hey, look at this.
I've had a real mix today of yeah, I do like the sports stripes. A real mix of models today. So I finished off cleaning up the 13 militia that I've bought. So they're ready to go. I can spray them tomorrow at work because it's a bit better for me to do it there. Then I went on to a Marvel Universe night model called Sentry that I'm doing for a friend.
Right?
A character he introduced me to. It's kind of Marvel's version of Superman, but probably a lot stronger.
Oh, I heard some people arguing about that once. Yeah, like
Yeah,
they made up
uh,
a guy just to like screw with the license. Like there's such a thing. Like one of them, I think Marvel has a character called Wonder Man, which is
okay.
totally stupid. They never actually publish it, but damn it, they own the name. Why? Just so DC can never have a Wonder Man that is a friend of Wonder Woman or whatever. It's just they create characters just to deny the IP to the other side. There's a Cold War going on, which I never knew about. I found interesting between
Yeah.
DC and Marvel.
Well, this guy's been out a very long time, actually. He's my friend's favourite, which is the only reason I've ever heard of him. He is in some of the comics. He is prevalent. He actually kills Ares hand to hand very quickly as well. He has the power of 1 million exploding suns, I think, is his strength. So he's pretty up there.
A million exploding suns. So
So his background
a
went,
1 million
yeah,
sol mass. See, now we're getting into Dark Star. A 1 million sol mass supernova.
there you go. So in
That's
one
pretty,
dude,
that's
in
pretty scary.
yellow and blue.
Well, it's a comic book, so
Um,
everything's
yeah,
fine.
so it's an interesting one. He's actually the model that Night Models did is him with Ares' skull in his hand, having just torn it out. So yeah, so Ares is in the same in the same image. It's just his skull on some gristle and stuff hanging off it. So yeah, I've been cleaning that up today,
A little
and then
bit
I
of
moved on
leakage out the
this morning.
bottom. It's fine. It's fine. That's why you do this stuff with plastic on the ground. Put down your plastic first, and you'll be great.
And
So
then
I'm
I was
just.
playing with some contrast paints,
Oh,
doing
nice.
I bought over time. I bought a Death Corps of Krieg army for 40k, which is the guy in the guys in the gas mask for World War One.
Okay.
Almost looked like the French. Well, it was based on the French in World War One, the uniform. So I've been playing with some contrasts with their blacks on some plating. I think I'm actually going to go the whole model with it, and then just bring it up using greys to have the sort of the underlayer of clothes different to the actual armor and the helmet
Nice.
because it went on really well. I did just an ink wash after to darken the areas I wanted dark to give me my light points and a quick highlight. And it's a very fast process, so bear in mind there's probably 100 and odd models. That's going to be very useful.
Oh God, yeah. Um, I don't really get into 40. I don't get into 40k at all, but I do mostly historicals. And the one bad thing about historicals is it's green, gray, brown, green, gray, brown, rinse, repeat. Once in a while, you get to do something interesting like black. Oh my God. Um,
This is why I went for 1943 Germans for my Flames of War
yeah. So
because they had options.
so my yeah, you actually do actually. They start to get a little colorful.
Oh yeah.
Like my sci-fi escape hatch, at least for hobby, is BattleTech, and
Oh
some of the
yes.
BattleTech paint schemes are just. Are you really going? Then again, you are walking around in a tank that's purposely made to be 30 feet tall, so you've left tactical realism like out the window. Never mind technological realism. Um,
Yeah. Mind you saying that, I suppose if you've got a big enough woods, you could probably hide one of the small ones.
I mean, all of military technology has been to make the tank lower to the ground. But no, we're gonna have because we have to have mechs. We have to have walking tanks. And
And
people are
just in
like,
case head
"Can
height
you
wasn't enough, we're going to stuff some stuff on the back as well.
just in case?"
Just
Yeah,
to,
people are like, oh, "Can you imagine if the military could really do that?" I'm like, "The military invented the gyroscope a long, long time ago. Trust me. If they wanted battle mechs, they'd have them. Guess what? They don't want them. So, because of all that, the fact that you're painting them up in blues and pinks and bright, dazzling yellows and flame orange, and it's fine, and it's a huge break. So for shirts, so far I've got the red option. We
yeah,
can do green, and we can do like the dark blue.
that's cool.
Again, we have different skins that we can use, so we can mix and match. And we can have these guys be different color armor. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
GC
have.
messaged me in between. We reckon she thinks that Tantor has some Hispanic. Other than that, taking the rest of the guys, we're going to go with Caucasian.
Yeah, cool. So again, that's
So yeah,
pretty
that's how I
much
do it.
yeah. That'll be our other skin option or whatever. And again, we've got both olive armor and more of a desert kind of an armor.
Yeah,
And I'll just keep adding layers onto this as we go. So last but not least, we're looking at some pants. Put some pants on that boy.
yeah. So Rowan himself seems to be in what looks like almost again back to a really light khaki when he went into that one.
Oh, okay. All right, let me start with
Um,
this.
I want to say the
Oh
sort of
no.
combat pants where you have the what is almost a military reinforced pocket, halfway down the leg, and
Oh, we do
so
have
the
some of
type. I
that.
mean,
Like some cargo pockets.
yeah, that type of. So I think it's though I can't see from this image if
Right.
that's how it is, but that's the material, the layout of the trousers is those really robust, almost working man sort of trousers, like a light, almost cream color.
All right, I will add those. I will add that color in just a second.
Yeah,
So, because I had already started like this denim, which is not quite dark enough.
it's very stonewashed that one,
I
isn't
was
it?
gonna say, yeah, this is very 1990s denim. I was about to say MC
It's a,
Hammer.
it's gonna have tie dye across his ass.
Oh, oh no,
It's done the dip and everything.
you can't touch this. All right, we will quickly move the conversation away from the tragedy that is 90s fashion, and we will. It's a good way to do this. We want to make this a little bit darker, please. Not that. All right. A little bit more gray, so that means less saturation. Um, I always, when I'm doing, I have like this navy blue. Again, I paint with really cheap paints. But whenever I'm doing, so I have to mix all my own paints. Whenever I'm doing khaki, well, not khaki, denim, it's very quick. It's a little bit of this like navy blue or just basic like royal blue I have, and like 50-50 mixed percentage with like pewter gray, and it comes out to like this perfect kind of a denim.
Oh, very cool. There's two of the contrast paints now are perfect for doing some of dark blue and a stonewash blue set of jeans. As in, you just whack it on with a white or a cream undercoat and you're good to go. Scarily good. There's a number of them that are excellent, and there's a number of them that I find are too watery or not quite right or need too many layers for it to be a quicker process.
So what I'm hearing is that contrast paints are really good for painting large infantry armies.
Yes, as long as stay away from armor. Anything with large flat surfaces, it's not meant for that because there's not enough detail, so it just ends up being very stained. And it's actually very good for staining buildings and stuff, though, because of that reason,
Right.
because it gives that random painted look. So doing small stains on buildings works really well. But yeah, infantry armors, yeah, 100%. Like I say, it's what I've gone to for Forge World. For this Forge World Force I'm doing.
Okay.
Of Deathcore because there's so many models, and it is quick. It is very quick. You can get to a tabletop standard with just by painting each area once,
Nice.
and then with the large army, that's half the
Yeah.
fight, isn't it?
Totally. Yeah. I have some my 20 millimeter American War of Independence, my American Revolution stuff. Oh my God, that was the summer. That was the summer of 2017. 400 miniatures in four different factions. Um, Obviously, British regulars, Americans, and I should say Patriots, and those are mixed between militia and regulars. Um, Germans or Hessians, whatever they want to call them, Crown Germans basically, and northern, like upstate New York, Native Americans. And holy hell, man! I mean, it looks fine now. I still don't have a wash on them. They're still just really just block coated. But that took like all summer.
Yeah.
That was like 3 months of work. All right, so is this the kind of cream, very light
Yes.
khaki pants you were talking about?
Yeah, that's the one from the image.
Okay,
Spot on.
cool. So last but not least, shoes.
Can't see. I want to say whatever they are, they're probably just going to be reinforced.
Right.
Decent boots.
I saw some of the militia guys like wearing like sandals and stuff. I'm not gonna do that, obviously, for these guys.
Yep, two of
Um,
my guys are in flip flops from my models.
yep. There you go.
We're not going to be chasing down any bad guys in them, I tell you.
We're rolling out a new look today. It's called combat casual.
I think it's a safe bet to go with either a black or a khaki, yeah, sort of the helmet color, or even the body armor. Because desert boots, the lighter ones, they're either vented or they come to match the terrain. Or if they've just gone with standards, then there'd be something like a black combat high.
Alright,
I'm just going to try and see on one of the other guys. I do, in fact, he was in black boots in a scene where he's training, because he's in just a pair of shorts doing weightlifting, and he's wearing black boots with socks tucked in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's actually pretty easy. I'll do that first.
Check in. I've got a picture of the guy in shorts kneeling at a fire position. I'm just trying to get up now to see what colour his boots are.
Well, it's got to be tough because most of those combat footage is all at night.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, color is going to be tough to determine in low light.
Yeah. I'd probably only be able to say if it's black or not black, essentially. Yeah.
I was just wondering if maybe they had like those new sand-colored jungle boots or paratrooper boots that you see a lot of guys wearing.
Yeah, there's very few shots of their feet, strangely enough.
Yeah, right. Unsurprisingly. Okay,
Yeah.
so
But yeah, like I say, there is a scene where he's lifting weights outside, and let's be honest, in those environments, you always wear the same footwear you would be for your job.
yeah.
I know when I trained out in tour and stuff, you kind of just in your boots.
All right, so now I'm back on my outline layer, so I can put in just a basic amount of detail here. Oh, I didn't quite do that right. I know I'm like super zoomed in here, guys. This is looking really fuzzy, but again, some super easy. Some super fast highlights.
Speaking of Black Site Studios, G and I were looking at, they do a swimming pool,
Okay.
which was in the compound. So we've been looking at that today. Unfortunately, it's in restock at the minute, but I think we're going to try and get in touch with the guys and see when that's due back in, which was quite cool.
Spoiler alert! Yeah, this is the old Garrison Marine coming out here. He does have a spit shine on his boot. Sorry.
I'm putting pressure on G there because I had to get a swimming pool because we were talking about doing a water effect one and putting all the rubbish and maybe a person in it.
Oh, that's right. We were gonna have. It's kind of grim. We were gonna have a casualty kind of floating in the pool there.
That's it. Yeah.
Hostile casualty, guys. Hostile casualty. We're not trying to be. So shadows. Is that going to be too strong? Put a little bit of. I'm on the wrong layer. Maybe that would help, dumbass. Just a little bit of shading under that boot. Now, notice that again, Photoshop, for Photoshop geeks out there, the highlight and the outline are on a different layer than the actual color template, or the color palette. So when I darken my actual boots layer, I'm not also darkening my highlights and my outline, i.e. losing them. So that is our first boot there for this guy. We're going to go ahead and duplicate that over here for his other boot because he's got 2 feet. This one will probably be a little easier. And again, these boots are now in separate layers, or in a separate layer by themselves. Both boots are in the same layer. And what that's going to allow us to do is max out the size of my brush a little bit. We'll be here all day if we're drawing all these boots like separately, so we don't want to do that. And again, we may just stick with this one option for boots. I mean, it depends on how serious we want to get.
To be honest, most of the other guys, I struggle to find an image of any. The only image I've got is one that's not in the firefight, so I think that's a safe option, to be honest. But everybody buys
I'm in the wrong layer.
Everybody buys what's comfortable.
I literally just did what I said I wasn't going to do. Okay. Okay, back up to my outline layer again. I need to learn to take my own advice. One, two tiny little islets, or the hints of islets.
So do you go in or out of the islets?
Here in Photoshop or in Boots? In
Well, you said, like you say, what your influence?
in Boots, there's a regulation for that. You go left over right, and it goes over top of the islet and then out through the islet, and it better be laced left over right, or you will fail a BDU inspection. The Marines are nothing if not. Oh my God, Oriskany, you're so detail oriented. Yeah, there's a reason for that.
It's called anal roast.
USMC. Sometimes people at work asked, oh, I went to FSU, I went to UF, I went to UM, for school or whatever. Where did you go to school? I went to the the U of SMC. Have you ever heard of that school? Oh no, is that a good school? We have a pretty good record in the Southwest Asia Division over the last 30 years or so. You ever heard of our school? And it's fun to see how long I string them along before they finally clue the fuck in that I ain't from your world, Toots. Don't worry about it.
Gunnerish Sergeant Hartman went there.
Yeah. What school did you go to? Heartbreak Ridge. I'd never heard of that school. Yeah. It's a variation on that.
You see, I love the film right up until the point they went to, was it
Grenada.
Grenada.
Yeah.
Up until that point, I was happy with it, and then I can quite happily not watch the end.
The only thing I don't like about that movie is they destroy supply, and I'm sure G loves that part of it, but I can't. That whole movie is just everyone in Marine Supply is a piece of shit, and I'm just like, well, not all the time, just most of the time. We're not like my favorite character. You always tell people. You ask them about Kelly's Heroes, who's your favorite character? And everyone says Oddball. I'm like, no, man, it's Crap Game. How is Crap Game your favorite character? Because I was in Supply, man.
So you're the guy in Zulu Dawn making the guys sign for their rounds on the back of the wagon while the attack's going on.
Probably, yeah. Because if I go back to Battalion Supply and I don't have that paperwork filled out, guess who's the next getting shot?
He never went back to Battalion Supply.
Okay.
And neither did any of the rest of the guys.
Was that Iswandala? Yeah.
Yeah, they were the ones that got caught in the open, so they didn't really have anywhere to go.
I always like how British history tends to divide those two battles into two separate battles. It's very strange.
Well, to be fair, one was a battle and the other was a massacre, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, the Americans kind of do the same thing. I mean, the Americans will divide the American Revolution and what they call the Second Anglo-French War into two separate conflicts because they don't want to admit that Great Britain actually won the American Revolution. They just lost that one tiny piece of it. Trust me, they won everywhere else. They ran the table everywhere else. So let's divide the war into two separate conflicts so that we can have our little victory over here, i.e. Rorke's Drift. And this one, that was that other thing that no one ever talks about. Or whatever,
yeah, that was yeah.
But that completely invalidates the entire Zulu perspective of that conflict. The only reason those people attacked Rorke's Drift was they missed the initial battle and they didn't want to go back without at least some blood on their spears. To them, it's all one battle, of which they won 90% of it and lost 10% of it or whatever,
Yeah. But it was interesting that the Zulu warriors were known for running down cavalry.
Running down cavalry. How does that work? I guess they catch them in a divide or a ravine.
Obviously,
or something?
over long distances, the Zulus would hunt as a team on the run and would eat and drink on the move.
Right.
Whereas cavalry has to stop to rest the horses. They have to water the horses, feed the horses.
Gotcha.
So they just wouldn't stop. They would just keep going after them. And there are times when they ran down cavalry, which, like you say, is mind blowing.
You almost have to think about that for a minute. I'm like, wait a minute, how does that even work?
The other thing is, when you think about it, as a cavalryman, for those first few times it would have happened, if nobody survived, you wouldn't have known. So you wouldn't even think that was possible because it's something you hadn't come across before.
Right.
So you'd stop and water the horse and stand there, and then, you'd be faffing around, do a small camp, put a fire together, get some grub on.
Why are you stopping? They're chasing you. Yeah, they're on foot. You don't trust me. You don't know.
Yeah.
Cavalry guy's like, will you please...
That was 10 miles ago.
Yeah.
They're still coming. They are still coming.
There was that scene in Tears of the Sun where they were trying to get out of an African country, and the Navy. It was a fictional group of Navy SEALs trying to get some refugees
I
out.
remember it well.
Yeah, and they were like, these guys are not. There's no way they're going to catch up to us by morning. These are the guys that run the Olympics. They're going to be here in the morning. Trust me. And they look at the satellite image. They're like, they covered 30 miles in 8 hours. How is that even possible? With
Yeah,
like over terrain and kit and
without a car. It's because we're kind of spoilt in how we move around. Where your main method of transport is on foot to go and get water,
Okay, so we got two different.
to go get food, to go to the next
All right.
town or village.
We got two different options here for boots. We have the black Cadillacs as they called it, and the more of a desert kind of again, just maybe for different options, depending on how we. So it looks like we got this guy basically colored. So we see where I put shadows in the boots. I may go back and put shadows in some of these other layers later on, but for now we've got him quote unquote base colored. I'll put in the digital equivalent of a wash and maybe some highlights a little bit later. But for now, I think this guy is more or
G2G,
less
good
done.
to go.
Yeah, we have good to go on several levels. We have different color shirts that we can put him in, and again, we can always create more. But for now, we already have very quickly switching out shirts. We have different pants that we can do. Now he's wearing no pants. I can put in like some darker grays or some. In fact, we might just do that now. We have different color helmets, and we have different color, person, to make sure that we got all the details right, or at least as close as we can. So I think this guy is, for a gaming piece, he is getting close. The only thing he needs now is a weapon. And we're starting to run low on time here, but I do have some source material for some basic weapons.
Like you say, never throw anything away.
Oh, yeah. Save all your assets. Okay, so this is obviously from the internet. I did not draw this. It's kind of nappy looking. Hold on, what else do I have? You're kind of at the... That's the one I was thinking of. Okay, so here's a basic sniper rifle. We see a little bit of his bipod there, or whatever, and some controls for his scope or whatever. It does look like it's carrying a bolt carrying handle, so we may Photoshop that out. From what I can see in the movie, the marksman, they were carrying quote unquote sniper rifles, but they were automatic rifles. They weren't bolt action. So I may Photoshop that out.
This is where G comes swinging in now, being
Yeah.
the hoarder of weapon systems that she is. I'm literally waiting. I'm looking at my phone, waiting for a message.
I'm looking at I'm looking at the Twitch chat.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I don't mean to disrespect YouTube. Okay, making sure we're not missing anything on YouTube. Yay! Okay, so I'll rework this a little bit later so that it's not quite as hey, I got it off the internet, because I like to be able to say that I draw my own stuff. But just for now, to start to get the scale right. Oh my God!
Well,
he's carrying
yeah.
he's carrying an 88 on his shoulder here. All right, let's fix
Is
that.
that a technical version?
Hi, I showed up here. I have my 88 anti-tank gun. I have it slung under my arm. He's got what was that comic character you were talking about? Was his super strong? Of his strength of
Oh
a
yeah,
million suns.
Sentry. Yeah.
He carries 88s like some people carry 6-shooters. Alrighty, so I may have to make this file a little bit longer to fit this kind of thing in here. Also, the weapon I think is a little bit big. And again, this is just to kind of put it in there. Then we're going to go in there and we're going to tweak it a little bit. We're going to put, you'll notice his fingertips on his carrying handle, or his forward hand, are now underneath the weapon. We're going to have to fix that. Also, the helmet is there's a little bit of a collision, so to speak, with the helmet and his shoulder. We want the stock to look like it's nestled in his shoulder. So there's going to be a little bit of work to do on that kind of thing. But more or less, I may have made that a little big. Lock the aspect ratio and shrink this down just a little bit. I think that's a little bit more realistic on the scale. Again, this is a sniper rifle, so this is going to be long. In fact, it's falling off the edge of the page here, so I have to resize my image. The work of about a moment. Canvas size, not image size. Let's make this, give myself an extra inch. That's what she said. 9 inches. 9 inches is good in most situations. Now, were these marksmen, were they carrying some sort of a suppressor or a muzzle brake or anything like that on the end of their sniper rifles?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Not in the film. Again, we're back to the film at this point, aren't we?
Right.
Which I know you love, Jim.
Yeah, it's me. You know, it's... Okay, so I'm going to cheat for a second here. Grab everything I have so far. Copy it. Duplicate all layers. Oh my god, Risky, you're going crazy. Relax, I have a plan. Then I'm going to merge those. And I've pretty much created a spare guy. So, boom, now we've got 2. Okay, and the reason I did that was I want to... Get again his forward hand. Copy that. Take my extra gun. Oh my god. I got another anti-aircraft gun in the picture there. Hold on.
Oh, it's 2 guys supporting. It's fine.
Oh yeah, yeah. It looks like they're like those old early war German machine guns where the one guy's got the muzzle right by his shoulder. I'm like, how
The
do you?
front guy's about to put his finger in his left ear.
Yep. Either that, or he's like, they're almost like playing football. It looks like the one guy's got his other hand up his ass. He's like, hey, you're getting a little too familiar back there, dude. What are you doing?
I hope
Turns
you're
around.
passing me a ball back.
What are you doing, man? Knock it off with that shit. All right, immaturity with Photoshop. Come
It
on.
went from 9 inches to immaturity.
That didn't take
in
long.
a short space of time.
That didn't take long. All right, cool. I've got his extra girlfriend here, so to speak. All right. Continuing with the theme. Okay. On a serious note, though, seriously, we are going to take this hand and we're going to start erasing parts of it. And again, there's a reason, a method to my madness. Alright, make this a little bit faster now that I've kind of cut around the edges. Okay, that's all erased. Now what I'm able to do is I'm able to take that extra hand here, and it's now above the rifle, because this bar here allows you to designate the order, or whatever, like the altitude, for lack of a better phrase. I'm not sure what the right word would be. What layers are on top and what layers are on the bottom, the order that the layers are presented. And what that allows me to do is something like that. Although that didn't quite work.
So G sent me a picture of Boone with the sniper rifle.
Okay.
It looks like the sighting system, I don't know if it's got an additional piece in front of the sight for, say, night vision, but the scope finishes, and then there's a second black section that runs to just after where the barrel starts out of the clip-on section, essentially.
Okay. So no, first of all, it's definitely an automatic rifle. It's not a bolt action rifle.
That's correct. Yes.
All right,
yes.
so I can make one very, very easy, quick correction here. Get rid of that bolt carrier. I'm on the wrong layer because I'm stupid. Get rid of that bolt carrier. Okay. All right.
The rear sight's fine, as in the size of it and stuff. It's a desert rear sight. In fact, the whole weapon system is the same as the rail at the front. And then there's a forward black component that's clipped onto the rail that I'm presuming is a night sight, because I don't know.
So it would be somewhere up around here?
Yeah, so at the end of the sight, it starts at the end of the front of the scope and goes all the way to just after where the barrel starts to come out.
Oh, so it's really far forward then?
Yeah, so it's quite a large bit of kit, yeah. G says it's an MVG 308 Scar. Yeah, so
So
looking at this
then,
one again, this
roughly
is the
like that,
movie. Yes,
with this being the piece.
yeah, it's
All
just a
right.
little shorter, but yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's it.
Ooh, looks like I have some trash here for my extra hand. Oh, and it also looks like I have, hold on, hand, duplicate layer, because this won't be the case on all of them. But it looks like I have some fingers above his sniper scope. That doesn't make any sense.
Hmm.
I underestimated how big that scope was. And I guess it would be underneath, his fingers would be underneath that new piece that you're talking about, right?
So it's difficult because he's got it on the bipod, so he's got a single hand basically on the
Gotcha.
pistol grip, and his second one is on his shoulder. He's not actually touching the weapon with his second hand. He's steadying the shoulder mount, so he
Yeah.
might be getting in position or just breaking his breathing down for the shot. But the bipod's doing all the work at the front. In this particular one, he's not carrying it in hand.
We missing anything in chat? Fingers should be under the scope. Yeah, cool, thanks. Yeah, I definitely was sure for the first one back here. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me zoom in a little bit. Definitely underneath the first like optical scope back here. I was curious about this second scope up front.
Hmm.
All right, so cool. Any details on that thing? I'm just gonna go ahead and make it look a little round for the moment on this new NVG thing. Any like red lights or any kind of color? Oops,
No, it is
just
literally
literally
just
a black box. No worries.
yeah,
That makes it easy for me.
like you say, you got a lens. The lens is larger than at the front end. You've got a large lens, but other than that,
Oh, okay. So it
so
actually
you could probably do
it
a
flares out a little bit at the end.
yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah.
actually pretty easy.
With an angle, you could probably just put the same sort of light source you've done on the MVG on his helmet. Yeah, and the rest of the weapon system is sort of desert cam, sort of a yellow.
Actually, if it's a scope, hold on. I'm getting super anal with this now. That's cool. 180, please, for rotation. Make that a little bit bigger. Alrighty, so first I'll do this one. Get to my dodge and burn tool for the Photoshop geeks out there. Shadows. It's going to be pretty serious, so let's make it 30% or so. Make this a little bit smaller. A little bit smaller.
Oh, I'm looking forward to my tea now. I've got meatballs.
Uh-oh.
I think some barbecue sauce is going to be thrown on them.
Image, no. We go from dodge tool to burn tool. Again, we're already at shadows. We're at 7%. That's a little too weak. Okay. Do the same thing on this other new piece. So yeah, I mean, you can get serious and actually kind of anal retentive as far as how detailed you want the weapon to be.
I'm not.
But for now, oh wait, one more thing I do want. Yeah, well, you're talking to.
Yeah, I know.
There we go. Okay, so something a little bit more like that. I don't want that to look
Yeah.
too much like a flashlight, but
No. Yeah. You just get this.
alrighty. So again, I will probably play around. So we got a bipod on him already.
Yeah, it's kind of got a double flare, Jim. Same as the main sight. That
Oh,
makes sense.
so there's a little
So
bit.
it narrows, yeah. So you've got the flare out at one end, and
Yep.
it narrows to the center where it clips onto the rail, and then it widens up to be sort of the diameter of the scope. So where you've got you just need to narrow the center section because you've already got the diameter of the scope. Yeah.
All right, it's colliding with the hand again. Um, what? Oh, the piece. think our new piece looks better than the original piece. It's got a better contrast. That just means I have to do the whole weapon now. But I will do that later off stream. I won't bore everybody with that. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take that rifle, the shoulder stock. I'm going to reduce its opacity so I can kind of see through it a little bit, so I can kind of predict how it's interacting with with the rest of his hand. So I want it to be under his helmet, under his shoulder, but not under his forearm. So we want the weapon to kind of fade back into the figure, so to speak. So it's basically just a judicious little piece of erasing. But we don't want to erase certain parts, but other parts we definitely do want to erase. We also want it to be above his armor, above his pistol holster. We'll see how that looks when I Alright, so now hopefully it looks like it's actually in his shoulder a little bit, especially if I apply a little bit of my favorite tool in Photoshop. That is the burn tool. It's how you make things look real, man. It's Photoshop's version of the wash. Put a little bit of a shadow in there.
Yeah, that's cool.
And now it almost looks like he's carrying the weapon. Again, this part of it looks a little bland, this middle part, but again, I'll go back there and I'll just heighten some contrast and I'll make that look a little bit more special. Okay, so I think that's going to be our first guy. Again, I'm going to put some shadows in his hands so it looks like, his weapon is really in the hand. Some shadows where his upper arms meet the t-shirt, so make everything look a bit more three-dimensional. Definitely want to put some shadows here, although not terribly big ones, on the pants.
How are you thinking of labeling the guys, Jim? You can do it on their base, are you?
Well, again, I don't know if I'm going to make a base. So there's a couple ways to do that. There are. Okay, let me.
That was a big sigh.
No. I was just how much do I want to get into here? So yeah, my desktop is very messy. Ignore everything that says porn. No, I'm just kidding. So we go to HK Ops. This is the HK Ops. Oh, you know what? I'll use one of the previous ones because there are people who are playing HK Ops later today on our stream, and I don't want to spoil anything.
Are there really?
Yeah.
And what time is that at, Jim?
That is going at let's see. We're starting the meeting at 2:30, but we're going live at 3. So in about an hour and a half. I'm just going to open up this spreadsheet so I can kind of show you what I'm talking about. You've already seen how I do the bases for. So these are some of the. This is what the figure looks like without a base. These are not quite as good as the ones we have for the ones we're drawing now. They're a little bit smaller, but these were the kind of figures I was thinking about using for the bad guys. So as you can see, there's no base. And then how we put the name on there. Let me zoom in a little bit. It's literally just text that is attached to the thing in Photoshop. I'm sorry, in Excel. In other words, you do it in Excel. You don't do it in Photoshop. And the reason you do that is it just makes your life a little bit easier because it makes it editable. Nice. And you can, you can change names. You can have wound levels in there. We were talking briefly in our in our podcast about ammunition levels. You know, you could even have okay, this guy starts off with. So now I made it too small. This guy starts off with 5 ammo units. Okay, he's used one up.
Yeah, and just tab them off.
Yeah. Delete. He's used one up. Oh wait, he's fired again. He's used up another one. So it's doable as far as keeping this stuff editable.
Glad to know as well that they've all got nicknames, so none of them are more than 5 letters.
Oh, cool. So I was thinking about doing the labels like that. Now we could do that with a base, like we did with Contact Front, or we could do that without a base. It doesn't, either way is fine with me. But I was picturing doing these guys without a base. We could track wound levels like we do with these guys. Again, this is for even a more granular game than we're thinking. This is literally for an RPG. So this is a little bit more granular than even the vehicle that we're, than even the system we're thinking about with this. So what I'm envisioning for the transit game, at least, I don't know about the miniature game, but for the transit game, it's between Valor and Victory and HK Ops. Sort of like the very smallest possible war game. All these vehicles can move because we're awesome. And when a vehicle gets hit, we can set it on fire. We can have a lot of fun. But again, by making all this stuff ahead of time and having it put as a transparent PNG in Excel, we can move it around, and these characters can move. They can rotate. We can keep track of their facing. We can edit information that's attached to the figure, like wound status, ammo level, names, things like that. It can all move move around and interact. And if we are careful with like this, obviously has no hexes or any kind of a grid on it, either quadrilateral or hex based. We can have like some sort of a ruler. Well, yeah, I'm preaching to the choir here. We've literally done this for Contact Front. We can play a miniature game in virtually. Whether or not I'm going to do that with the transit game, I'm not sure. A hex encounter game is obviously my go-to. However, we're making up miniature style playing pieces with these guys. So why have why make a hex encounter at that point? I mean, now that we have basically virtual miniatures here. The only difference is that if we do have it as a miniature style game for the transit game, we're going to need some sort of a ruler, which we've used in everything from Air War C-21 to Contact Front. It's or modern a naval command for Modern War in the Falklands. We've done it. It's not as hard as it sounds, but it's hard to measure a screen. Like, in a miniature game, you put a ruler on the table or something. You can't really do that when your screen is literally changing sizes. Like you can't hold a ruler up to your screen and say 6 inches, and get the same result when you do it like this. It's going to be very.
Oh, I found out the transit time as well.
Okay.
From when them rolling out to their drop shot, because they finished on foot due to not knowing what was there, was 7 minutes.
Okay, so we can have each round be a minute.
Yeah.
And have it be an aiming point of seven turns. That's actually perfect.
Yeah, it gives you a scope and a scale to play with.
That's actually pretty awesome. It actually fits right into because I was like, how am I going to make this last 30 minutes or an hour? Or what was our first estimate? Like 30 to 30 minutes to an hour or something like that?
Yeah, we thought it was because they waited for 25 minutes, left at 22:03, and got to their drop shot at 22:10. So literally 7 minutes is what they've clocked it as, and that's from the committee review. So we're kind of going. Obviously, it's going to be from an American or an ally's perspective, because that was the review team. But they went in and they investigated everything, so they'll have as much information as we can find, essentially. And they've got a full timeline in that report as well. They've also got the route that was taken, labelled in blue. I thought they'd have gone out and turned right from the annex, and they went out and turned left, because left is a shorter route, which I was surprised about. Yes, so they've got the route that was taken to go there, and it's not the route I thought they would have.
Yeah, I thought they would. From the map I saw, it was turn an immediate right and then make a left to get actually to the annex building, or not the annex, to the embassy outpost.
Yeah, so no, they turn left straight away, go virtually to the edge of the map, turn left again, go all the way down to the paralleling road, turn left, and then go down to the back gate of the compound. So
they made three. Hold on, they couldn't have made 3 lefts. They would end up back where they started.
It overshoots and comes back on itself, basically.
Oh my
I'll send you the image of it.
Yeah, please do, because now I'm really confused.
But by road, I think it's the other roads were single carriageways, and there were sections of this one that were dual, so maybe it was just a faster route overall. Okay. Another thing is there was a lot of attacks in the run-up to this in the months prior. IEDs are a large threat in the area, something you might want to think about. There have been a number of attacks on vehicles, there have been bombs put against stuff. The largest one blew I've got the note for it here somewhere, an interesting size hole in a wall, shall we say. A 9-foot by 12-foot hole through a wall with one of the devices. And that was one of the compounds. So they have got some real punch in what they're using. So that could be something to think about for if they were using regular routes backwards and forwards. Maybe they were trying to vary the route.
Yes, it sounds like, and also, again, just going by the movie, that there is a lot of damage to the street system itself. Like, some of these streets are not really passable safely, is what it looks like. Never mind, being shot at. I mean, being shot at's bad enough, but that may have accounted for some of their more, for some of their choices as far as how the route they took to get to their intended destination.
Yeah, looking through those attacks specifically, they were labelled as IEDs, hand grenades, RPGs, small arms, and 150 cal technical. Was
Jeez.
used during those attacks in the run-up to the event. And then you got RPKs, RPGs, and AKs were pretty much the majority of the actual attack on the compound.
Right.
And then, obviously, when they came back to the annex and the second attack happened, that scaled up in what the capability of the enemy was. But yeah, for the transit, the IDs might be something to think about.
Yeah, that would be a nice little addition to the random events table.
Yeah, because they were definitely prevalent. So yeah. Yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this.
I am selecting very carefully the armor, not the helmet. This is why I should have drawn the armor and the helmet as two separate layers, so I wouldn't have to do this.
Right.
Notice I'm not being careful about the web gear or the shirt, so that I can hopefully now, not shadows, midtones, put a little bit of a, notice it's not putting in a shadow over the straps or over the helmet. Again, just trying to add a little bit of depth to the figure. So we have some basic shadows in there now as well.
Nice.
Cool. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up for now. We've been shooting for about an hour and a half, actually a little bit more. We have the beginnings of our first actual, I won't say painted, but our created miniature character here for
13 days, 13 hours?
13 days. Here we go. Where is my other... I'm missing one of my layers. See, this is why you always label your layers. Oh my god. I'll find it later.
You've done a great job, Jim.
I've already lost the damn layer. How the hell did I do that? Did I delete one of the skin layers? Oh well, I'll figure it out later. Oh, there it is, skin copy. It's not in the right order. Cool. Okay, guys. So again, this is our start. What we're basically going to do is we're going to go ahead and create. From my recollection, it's going to be the leader. It's going to be 2 marksmen, 2 guys with like those cut down parasaws. That's 5. And then I think there's one more M4 rifleman, and somebody's carrying a grenade launcher. I don't know if that was.
That's correct. Yeah, that's Tig. Tig was carrying a grenade.
Okay, so that would be the 6th guy. Okay, cool. So 2 M4s, one's a leader, one's a grenade launcher, or a grenadier, or whatever you want to call them. So that's 2. 2 M249 saws and 2 marksmen. That's our 6th, and then we'll have to create a 7th guy for the unarmed interpreter.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I've got my work cut out for me. This is the beginning of the project, obviously. We are 13 days, actual work days, so we're like counting hours. We're working towards a total goal. I think it's like 132 hours.
312.
Oh, I was way off. 300. I had the right digits, just in the wrong order.
That's it, yeah.
132 hours. I've just cut our timeline by like almost down to like a third. Sorry, G, I didn't mean to do that. We're literally trying to get within 13 days of actual working time to where we can recreate part of the 2012 Benghazi attack with a little bit more of an optimistic outcome, hopefully. We're going to see if we can actually get to that compound and force a better result if the GRS operators had been allowed to take off pretty much as soon as the incident started. So again, we have to create literally 3 games for that. The transit game to get there, the main game, the real one, that's going to be the big one that you guys are building with the tables and the miniatures. And then also to get the guys back from the wrecked embassy compound back to the CIA annex building. And then, of course, if you're familiar with the incident or familiar with the movie, there's actually a 4th phase that takes place when the actual the CIA annex comes under attack. And that sounds like it might be one of the biggest battles of all. But
yeah, most definitely. That
we're
was a lot of hours as well. In fact, while they were still in the compound, they managed to get an unarmed drone up over this that informed them of a roadblock on the way back. So that's something else to think about for the route back.
Cool.
They have access to a drone, and there was a roadblock in place that one of the vehicles actually ran.
Yeah, Rasmus in the chat. Yeah, I would totally agree that the transit game can include the choice of the route if needed. The problem for me is that that's going to create a much bigger map, and now I have to be a lot more serious about where the roads are, and I'm going to have to categorize the roads. Like there's like these roads are have the roads. I'll just give like a difficulty number, you know, for nice wide, well maintained roads, surfaced roads, easy category. Narrow roads that are somewhat junked up with garbage, maybe like a medium difficulty, and like the one-way roads that are not surfaced and that are completely covered with rubble. There's IEDs in there, or something like that. They'll have like a hard difficulty, and or never mind the IEDs. The IEDs will be a separate column on that chart, where the IED likelihood will be like low, medium, and high, or whatever. So yeah, there'll be short routes that are dangerous, and there'll be long routes that are safe. And I think this will offer to the players, and again, it also increases replay value. It offers to the players the choice of, do I take the short route that is difficult, where I'll probably blow a tire, where I'll probably get hit by a mine, where I'll catch an RPG in the windshield or something, or do I take the nice long easy route, but it's I'm halfway to Egypt by the time I turn around and get back to the embassy compound.
Yeah.
That's going to be up to the players. That's an interesting challenge. It's an interesting project. It's just I'm going to be in Photoshop for about the next 2 days, trying to create that map. But it'll be fun. It'll be good. The vehicles
It'll be
are
good for other games later as well, won't it? For
well,
you to
yeah.
use.
We're also trying to build this in such a way where it's replayable, because it would be a pain. It would be kind of a shame if we did all this work, put in like 13 like actual man days, 312 man hours of work into this project, and then we only played it once. Or maybe we can even publish our findings and other people could give it a try. We want to offer different options. If it's just a game of Monopoly, Monopoly with guns, you start here, move forward 3 spaces, go directly to jail, you hit an RPG, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Where it's like, how fast can you do like this Candyland route to just get to the point? Yeah, I agree completely with Rasmus that we should offer a choice of routes. It is more work on my end, but it will make it for a much better game. And it will make the work that we're doing more worthwhile. So yeah, we're definitely going to do that.
It did look like on the route back, the vehicles did split and take different routes as well.
Yeah, so now it's a historical requirement as well.
But that's, even if it's not, I'll tell you that. That way you feel a bit better about it.
Oh, no, thanks. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Thanks as always one more time for hanging out with us for a little bit of a Sunday afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and cut off the stream and get ready for our HK Ops game, which is starting in about an hour and 16 minutes. So if anyone's ready to check that out, if not, no worries. We're going to have a lot of fun. I know that. We've got 3 players plus myself. We're going to actually do some role-playing games. What that is it's a lot more lighthearted. This is anything but a lighthearted project, this one here. Our HK Ops is fictional private military contractors in a fictional private military contracting firm going off on missions around the world to, I won't say save the world, because a lot of times we don't. In fact, last session we did not. we definitely did not. Where we get a job to do and we get paid to do it. Because we're private military contractors, and sometimes those choices aren't always as easy as we would like. So I'm going to go ahead and start final preparations for that. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Thanks very much, everyone, for your continued support. I'm going to go ahead and play the Black Site ad now before we take off for a while. Gaz, thanks very much for helping me out with some technical information and some historical background and just conversation. I mean, we've done these Photoshop streams in the past, and even when the Wacom pad is working, sometimes they get a little dull, because if you're not into Photoshop, you're like, oh my God, he's selecting a new layer or whatever, So it's always good to have a conversation in the stream. I think it helps out.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
All right, cool. All right, everyone, take it easy. I'm going to go ahead and log off for now. And thanks very much, as always, for supporting SitRep. And we will be in touch later on this week. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Are you looking to become a Tier 1 operator in the gaming world? Elevate your games with Black Site Studio Terrain.